impeached me twice for nothing. And they impeached me knowing the Republicans are on my side, so they knew it was just that they impeached me twice. She should be impeached. It should happen fast.
I do believe those of you who are interested in rewriting this hateful man's history are full of shit.
How would you like it if someone called you out of your name? If they called you a B word or any of that, how would you feel?
These people are calling me a cunt and all these awful names online. Are you kidding me?
Ilhan Omar has got to go. Nancy Mace, U.S. House Representative, is commenting on what President Trump said on Air Force One. And she says, expel, denaturalize, and deport, right in that order. So you impeach her, remove her from Congress, get her out, denaturalize her for her fraud. And remember, I know it makes people uncomfortable to think about removing someone's U.S. citizenship, but if you got your citizenship on false pretenses and you committed fraud in exchange for that citizenship, you don't get to keep it, okay? Just like any other contract in the world. So if she did that, then it's time. Now, here's what the president said. We'll go into some aftermath on this because the House is duking it out, but here is what President Trump said about Ilhan Omar.
I think she should be impeached. I think she's terrible. Is she originally from Somalia? So how are they doing it? How's their government? Do they have a president? Do they have a council? Do they have anything? Do they have police? I love these people that come from a place with nothing, no anything, and then they tell us how to run our country. Now, I think if she got censured, that's great. If she got impeached, that's even better. They impeached me twice for nothing, and they impeached me knowing the Republicans are on my side, so they knew it was just that they impeached me twice. She should be impeached. It should happen fast.
Get her out of Congress and, according to Nancy, get her out of America. So this turned into a censure battle, and a lot of it came out and came to a head when a Republican called Corey Mills joined the Democrats to not censure her for comments like this. Dustin Grage got this clip for us, almost 2 million views over on X, saying that Ilhan said this in this hearing meeting. I do believe those of you interested in rewriting this hateful man's history are full of crap. Everyone stands up and cheers her because this is their party.
I do believe those of you who are interested in rewriting this hateful man's history are full of shit.
Okay, so she hates Charlie Kirk, calls everybody who likes Charlie Kirk full of crap, has had no love for his family or for, the grieving America at all. Just says, you guys are liars. You don't even like Charlie Kirk. You're all full of crap. You're just making stuff up. No one likes, shut up, sit down, get out of here. And her constituents, we love you, Ilhan. Yeah, no more fascists, because they're brainwashed idiots. So we now know where they stand. And of course, there's going to be a lot more of this, no doubt about it. Trump commented about Ilhan. He said, Ilhan Omar's country of Somalia is plagued by a lack of central government control, persistent poverty, hunger, resurgent terrorism, piracy, decades of civil war, corruption, and pervasive violence. 70% of the population lives in extreme poverty and widespread food insecurity. Somalia is consistently ranked among the world's most corrupt countries, including bribery, embezzlement, and a dysfunctional government. Now, all of this, and Ilhan Omar, who was just there like yesterday, comes over here and tells us how to run America. And P.S., wasn't she the one that married her brother in order to gain citizenship? Uh-oh, that sounds like fraud. What scum we have in our country telling us what to do and how to do it. It is scummy. Thank you for your attention to this matter. You're welcome, Mr. President. Make America great again. Yes, indeed. And so here's what Trump is talking about. This apparently is the former prime minister of Somalia. And he says, we need her in American government. Okay, a lot of foreign countries want their assets in our Congress, and Somalia's got one.
It is very important in Ilhan tahay Soomaali tahay meeshaas lagu jirto. Qofkii Soomaaliya oo aragtidiisu tahay nin madow ha qaato kursigaas ama qof cad ha qaato qof moralkiisa wax ka hadlaysiin. Marka taasna waa lagu dhiirigelinayaa sababtaan arrinkan lagu soo celinaya Soomaalida oo u sheegay live iyadoo ah.
Yeah, so it's the name of Somalians, and he's happy that Ilhan is in America, bringing with her a little taste of Somalia. And here's a little bit more of what we've got happening in Minnesota. You can see 8 people were charged with wire fraud in this case, and Trump was also commenting about this. He said, this is curious. Does Ilhan Omar know these people? Are they from her wonderfully managed home country of Somalia? And if Somalia has so many problems over there, how come she doesn't doesn't go there and lead her people. Why does she have to bring them all over here and steal our country from us? Libs of TikTok says, breaking, 8 charged in massive Medicare fraud scheme, which resulted in $8.4 million that they are stealing from us. The individuals charged are Mokhtar Has Aden, Mustafa Dayeeb Ali, Khalid Ahmed Dayeeb, Abdifa Mohammed, Christopher, okay, it's like Christopher Johnson, what are you doing here? No, it's Christopher Adesohi Falati. We got Emmanuel Al-Wamadi Falati and Assad Ahmad Adaw and Anwar Ahmad Adaw. All like just great Americans coming into our country, and I'm sure doing a lot of positive things other than stealing $8.4 million out of Medicare. So here you can see Minnesota became the first state in 2020 to leverage Medicaid dollars to help older adults. And now most of it is fraud, as far as I can tell. Yeah, it's about right. But basically how they do things. Analysts predicted the program would cost $2.6 million, but ultimately it's $42 million, and then $74 million, and then $104 million. In the first 6 months, the program paid out $61 million to these thieves. The latest charges are another instance of alleged defrauding of the Minnesota program. Federal charges came out against all those dudes. Thompson said the defendants targeted vulnerable people, American seniors, many of whom were being released from drug or alcohol rehab. What a bunch of sickos. And signed them up to help them find housing, and then stole the money from the addicts. This level of fraud is staggering. Unfortunately, our system of trust but verify no longer works. Yeah, because you got to have a high integrity population if you want that to work. Department of Human Services, which administers the Housing Stabilization Services Program, said in a statement that the agency has been collaborating with law enforcement to root out fraud. And according to court documents, Brilliant Minds Services, they're all sitting around like, we're brilliant. They claimed to serve 350 people and that they owed $2.3 million, okay, that they were entitled to bill. But the company only provided a fraction of their services. Yeah, each of the 4 defendants personally pocketed between $300 to $400 grand. Wow. Thompson's going to bring more charges coming soon, and it's just fraud through and through. And right over there out in Minnesota, here's more.
Many of these companies operated out of dilapidated storefronts or rundown office buildings that were full of other fraudulent healthcare companies.
Yeah, and they did this with voters too. Remember, they set up shops and all these voter registration companies, and they're all getting paid and signing up all these people, blah, blah, blah.
Such as the Griggs Midway building in St. Paul. Rather than being general healthcare or social services providers, many of these companies were devoted exclusively to billing the housing stabilization program. Today, we are charging 8 defendants for their role in this fraud scheme. 4 defendants, Mokhtar Hassan Aden, Mustafa Ali, Khalid Dayeeb, and Abdi Fattah Mohammed, are charged for their role in carrying out a fraud in a company called Brilliant Minds Services, LLC, which is a housing stabilization services company run out of the Griggs Midway building in St. Paul. Brilliant Minds and its owners received more than $2 million in Medicaid billings based on their fraudulent claims to providing housing stabilization services. Defendants Christopher and Emmanuel Falade are being charged for their role in operating another fraudulent housing stabilization company called Faladcare. Together, they received more than $2 million in
Faladcare,
purportedly
which
for
is
providing
to care for the Falads with American taxpayer dollars. And I don't know much more about the defendants. Charges just got filed, so maybe we'll see if Homeland picks them up and deports them if they're not citizens or whatever their status is. But Ilhan Omar is continuing to castigate Charlie Kirk. She's continuing to, facilitate foreign interests from Somalia in our own country. And she was up for a censure. Nancy Mace brought the censure forward, and one person called Corey Mills from Florida said that we're not going to censure her. He was one of 4 Republicans who didn't join, and so the attempt failed. Now, Will Chamberlain asked this question: why exactly did Corey Mills refuse to vote to strip Ilhan? What happened here? And the question, of course, goes over to Corey. And so what Will said in response to this was, oh, now we know. He's under his own censure attack. He says Ilhan Omar is loathed by Republicans, and her comments about Charlie were terrible. This should have been pretty straightforward. You get censured for the comments like that. But Rep. Mills claimed that the First Amendment guided his concerns. He says, oh no, we may not agree with what someone says, but that doesn't mean we should deny their First Amendment rights, is Corey Mills. Okay, well, interesting. Now, one doubts this is the actual rationale, and we're pretty sure that didn't he vote to censure Rashida Tlaib Taleb. So it's like he kind of will do that sometimes. So anyways, one doubts that this is Representative Mills' actual rationale. For one, Nancy Mace claims that he threatened her over text last night, and she's the one who authored the resolution. Nancy Mace posted this. Said, "This is pretty rich there, Corey. Coming from a guy who turned off commenting on his social media, this is rich. You voted to stifle free speech, to debate this resolution by voting to table. Massey didn't even vote to table. So that's saying something. And you also threatened me over text last night, and so maybe some personal reflection is in order." And Axios is reporting that it was a quid pro quo. The Democrats threatened to censure him because he's got a scandal going on right now with Miss America, something going on over there, and that the Democrats wanted to censure him for that. I think she's suing him, and he didn't want that to come up, so he just did a nice even exchange working with the Democrats, which is pretty disgusting. Well, Axios reported yesterday that he had a plan, the Democrats had a plan to stop Omar from getting censured. They were just going to go after Mills. Axios says House Democrats are resting their strategy to defeat the censure by saying they're just going to censure Corey Mills, and it could work. The prospect of voting down one censure vote to avoid another will look attractive to the Republicans, and it did work. Corey Mills has a bunch of scandals, and all of them have been publicly reported on. Maybe he's worried about that, and seems pretty possible. Yeah, they say he assaulted his girlfriend. Public reporting, also pretty damning, police reports. So he's in the thick of it, as you can tell. But Corey made this video that he recorded on a potato explaining what he's saying. He says, "We're not violating anyone's constitutionally protected speech and censuring to give any more fundraising and make Omar a martyr. Open an investigation," he says, "into marriage fraud." Yeah, 8 U.S. Code. "And Immigration Nationality Act violation or incest laws." Yeah, because you can't marry your brother. "Then you have a reason if found guilty to expel and not just censure her." He says, "I'm a constitutionalist." So you can believe, which way you want.
To censure Ilhan Omar. But let me first start out by dispelling some of the rumors that's been said online. Many people are saying that this was a vote for vote exchange, that if I voted no, that then they would remove my censure as well. But I'll remind everyone that this is the exact same retaliatory censure they tried to use during Representative McIver's motion to table, where I voted to go ahead and censure McIver because she not only was operating in her official capacity, wearing her lapel pin as a member of Congress, but was video of her obstructing and assaulting an ICE agent. Now, did I know that that vote could potentially lead to my own censuring in a retaliatory but nonsensical manner? Of course I did. But that's a different thing than what we're talking about with the protection of free speech. I've also heard people say, well, Jimmy Kimmel has been removed. People are being fired from their jobs for their anti-Charlie Kirk rhetoric, and they have a right to do so. But employment law and constitutional law are two very different things. And that will state, I could fire someone for what they're wearing, what they say, how they wear their hair. But our Constitution was framed in a way to ensure not just to protect private citizen to private citizen, but to protect the private citizen from government. Your right to free speech, your right to protect yourself.
All right, so I don't know if he recorded that on a vegetable or what, but he published that from his own account. So, sometimes you have an interview with somebody, right? And like you're in this little box, like if you try to clip my box, like this little box right here, right? And like expand it into a full video, it's going to look pixelated, but not that pixelated. So anyways, weird response. I think it's probably more of trying to avoid his own censure than anything. Nancy says, so Corey Mills says he defended ISIS sympathizer Ilhan's right to speak, but he voted to censure Rashida Tlaib, apparently, so also her. By his own logic, isn't that a direct violation of her First Amendment rights? So he just kind of picks and chooses. This one may have been to save his own butt. But Nancy Mace has just been going hard out there, and this was a fun one clipped over from April Spark. She goes off on the tease, man. Here's Nancy.
Transgender, was a tranny. Come on, let's be honest about this.
That's disrespectful.
I really don't care because there are a lot of trannies out there that want me dead because I'm a rape victim who wants privacy in the bathroom. The trannies can F off. I don't care. They want to kill me, and they're not going to.
How would you like it if someone called you out of your name? If they called you a B word or any of that, how would you feel?
These people are calling me a cunt and all these awful names online. Are you kidding me? They are the most egregious, most violent people on earth. They are mentally ill and should be in a straitjacket with a hard steel lock on it.
Man, when Nancy Mace hits, she hits. A lot of truth in that statement. But today in Congress, we did have some good news and some pretty horrific news, all wrapped into one. Charlie Kirk now has a resolution passed in his honor, and 58 Democrats couldn't even tone the temperature down for 2 seconds. Couldn't even just chill out for 5 minutes and allow the political conversation to return to a normal state of whatever they want. Instead, they voted against this resolution. because they hate Charlie Kirk. They've got no interest in negotiating or being friends. They're in a state of war. They're killing our people repeatedly. And this is more evidence there cannot be a national reconciliation with people who want you dead.
Well, we just got some breaking news here, Chad, that Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats, the House Democrats, just voted yes. He's a yes on honoring Charlie Kirk, and AOC just voted no. So there is the divide right there within the Democratic Party on a resolution that really should be bringing everyone together. Thank you, Chad Pergram, live on the Hill for us with that breaking news. Let's bring in Shannon Bream now. Give us your take on, this is a resolution that is very simple, very easy to understand, and there it is. It's final now. Let's listen in.
Voting present are 38. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
There it is. It has passed in the House, this resolution to honor Charlie Kirk. Shannon, your takeaway on this divide we're looking at right now on the House floor where Democrats couldn't move themselves to vote yes on this.
Well, and you've got several of them out there that are publicly saying that they think of Charlie's legacy as something much different than Republicans do. We talked about this with the speaker on Fox News Sunday, and some comments from Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who has said, you want to call people's bleep out on this. They're trying to rewrite his legacy and calling him a hateful person. Republicans will say, go watch his clips, the things he's being accused of, racism and bigotry and these other things. You'll see that melt away if you watch the conversations he had with people. They were uncomfortable, they were difficult, but he was laughing, he would hug people. They feel like he's been mischaracterized, and so for that respect, they say this is a resolution that everyone should be able to vote for. But you mentioned some of the key players like AOC, for example. We talked earlier about her potentially running in 28 or running for the Senate or running for the White House. So the party very much has to decide what it is moving forward. Is it more progressive? Is it more moderate? Is it establishment? I mean, this vote would suggest that there's really not a lot of common ground.
No, there's not.
Shannon,
they're on team murder.
to yours and Aisha's point, I mean, this was a very simple resolution. It's just to honor the life of a man who was assassinated. There's no strings attached here, yet you had 58 Democrats vote no against it, just to simply honor the life of a man who was killed on camera in front of the whole country to see. What does that say about where we are right now?
Yeah.
It says that the Democrats want you dead, and they're not going to pause, and all of their fake promulgations of calm and temperature turning down and all that nonsense is just nonsense. They want you to shut up, because if you shut up, then they'll continue to just kill and roll over everybody and use the FBI to investigate you and try to hack AGs to take you down and bankrupt your company and throw you off ballots, and then they'll unleash hell on all of your cities because a crackhead died because his heart failed, according to the medical coroner in the George Floyd case. We now are seeing what they are, and that's what's pretty shocking about this whole thing. You realize, wow, they're a lot more horrific than we ever thought. We're going to keep our eye on this one, and we'll see if there is an investigation into Ilhan's immigration status and whether she committed immigration fraud, because if she did, then she should not have the benefit of fraudulently obtained citizenship in America, nor should anyone. And hopefully we get to the bottom of that one.